I said that this was something we hadn't seen with any other president. And to me, it was actually shocking enough that I didn't think it would last. I thought it would be an outlier. But now, look at this. Gallup just conducted its follow-up poll 1 month into Trump being back in office. And his numbers have gotten worse. He's not at -1 anymore. Now he's at -6, which makes him, at this point in his term, not only the most disliked and unpopular president in over 70 years of Gallup polling. Despite Elon Musk's and Donald Trump's claims to support free speech, their behavior makes it abundantly clear that this is not the case. While many journalists use their right to free speech to infuriate Donald Trump, it became evident during a speech and a post by Trump Today, who is at the top of that list, Rachel Maddow. Her recent reporting has annoyed Trump so much that, as I mentioned, he started attacking her. We will discuss all of that, but before we do, I'd like to ask you to quickly like this video. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy our channel, it means a lot to me and makes a big difference. Naturally, we must first examine what Rachel Maddow is reporting that has made Donald Trump so enraged before we watch the video of him losing his temper. Now, let's look at that directly. The data is in. It has officially been a month as of today in this new presidential term, and the bottom line is that the country kind of hates this guy. Well, I shouldn't say hate. It's not the right word, not a nice word. Maybe can't stand him is better. Or maybe I shouldn't characterize it at all. I'll just show you the numbers. I will say that we probably should have seen this coming. I didn't necessarily believe it would happen this fast, or this drastically, but right out of the gate, Gallup conducted polling right after the inauguration. They ran their first poll on public opinion of Trump in his second term immediately after the inauguration, literally on the first full day he was in office. The day after he was sworn in. That is the definition of a honeymoon period, right? That's supposed to be the high water mark in terms of what people expect from you and hope for. But in that first Gallup poll of this presidential term, shockingly, Trump was already underwater. In his first week in office, more Americans disapproved of him than approved of him, only by 1 point, but still, that's unheard of. It's an unusually negative start in presidential polling. Gallup, in fact, stated at the time that in over 70 years of conducting presidential polling, Donald Trump was the only president whose approval ratings were underwater from the very start of his term, meaning more people disliked him than liked him. In that first week's Gallup poll, Trump was at 47% approval and 48% disapproval, meaning he started at -1. As I mentioned, that was something we had never seen with any other president, and to me, it was shocking enough that I didn't think it would last. I assumed it would be an outlier. But now, look at this. Gallup just did its follow-up poll 1 month into Trump being back in office, and his numbers have gotten worse. He's not at -1 anymore. Now he's at -6. This makes him, at this point in his term, not only the most disliked and unpopular president in over 70 years of Gallup polling, but Gallup also states that he is 15 points below the average for presidents at this stage in their term over the last 72 years of polling. 1 month into a presidential term, the average approval rating is 15 points higher than where Trump is right now. No president has ever started off a term this poorly in the eyes of the American people. When Donald Trump first took office, too many Democrats in Congress believed that perhaps people wanted to work with him and that they should try to be bipartisan. But now, the numbers are in, and they are historically bad for Trump. So bad, in fact, that they are almost impressive. Perhaps this will be a real wake-up call, because his policies are unpopular, and the things people believed they were voting for are never going to happen. I strongly oppose that. And now, people have come to that realization. Even a vast majority of MAGA Republicans who once supported Donald Trump have come to that realization. And Trump is not pleased that Rachel Maddow is bringing this information to the public's attention. That's why we can see that it's really beginning to get under his skin. In 2 clips from CPAC, he directly attacked Rachel Maddow. First, of course, and lied about that approval rating. Second, let's examine both. Then, our approval rating is now the highest ever across all demographics. Rasmussen just came out at 56%, Insider Advantage at 56%, RMG Research at 57%, and we have many polls in the mid-60s, one at 71%. We like that 71%. Donald Trump also followed up on all of that by saying that MSNBC, also referred to as IDC, is a threat to our democracy because of the dishonest and deceptive individuals at the top. Therefore, it has been just like any other day, despite the hatred directed at Donald Trump. However, he is obviously aware that the polling is declining. So should we be shocked? The funny thing about all of this is that even though people acknowledge that they despise Donald Trump, they tend to forget that, in some way, even more than Trump, Elon Musk is primarily to blame for the poor polling and the negative perception that the Trump administration has in America. Elon Musk, his obvious co-president, is dragging him down a lot, which is hilarious. This is why I've been saying for a long time that we need to focus on Elon Musk and all these discussions about the oligarchy developing around Donald Trump and the dark money that isn't actually investing in our politics, but has instead become it. We must draw attention to that. We must resist Elon Musk's efforts to eliminate the school lunch program and reduce funding for cancer research. Additionally, instead of investing billions of dollars, he could embezzle billions more from our taxes for his businesses. That's the main point, and it does not reflect well on the Trump administration. Speaking of Elon, Rachel Maddow has been doing a fantastic job, which is obviously the reason Donald Trump is upset with her. She covered the Elon situation, if we may use that term, a little more. Indeed, this is something you will truly want to hear. Since Inauguration Day, Tesla sales in Europe have taken huge hits, recently down 40% or 50% or more in the largest markets in Europe. Overall, in the last year, globally, electric vehicle sales are up 25%, but Tesla sales are down 1%. And down 1% may not seem like that big a deal, even as the overall market for that type of vehicle is going up. But consider that this 1% drop in Tesla sales this year follows the last 2 years, in which Tesla sales were up 38% and up 40%. And now this year, they're down 1%. Now how does that kind of thing affect his ultimate role in what he's doing to our government and what he thinks of his public image and what he's making the public think of him? I don't know. But I think the most reasonable thing to expect is that it's going to be unpredictable because there are a lot of weird variables at play here. I mean, obviously, this is a personal crusade of his to destroy as much of the constitutional republic as he can, without any regard at all for him having any legitimate government authority or following any laws. The personal dynamic between this campaign donor and the president himself is very unusual, given that the president seems to have personally empowered this guy without actually giving him a government job. So the personal dynamic between them is all that Elon Musk has to stand on in terms of what he is doing to our government. The dynamic between them is weird, in which the president is effectively sidelined, while Elon Musk takes center stage. The president, in contrast, appears to be weak and sort of beside the point, while his campaign donor regularly upstages him and talks over him, both in interviews and in the Oval Office. I mean, that would be hard to take for even the least egotistical president. It remains to be seen how it will play out with this one. Along those lines, I have to say, this is also very strange late-breaking news. I'm not quite sure what to do with this at all, but you should know. CNN was first to report today that the Trump administration has made an unusual decision with regard to Elon Musk's team of private personal bodyguards. Now, NBC has not confirmed this, but CNN is reporting, based on 3 law enforcement sources, that the administration had the U.S. Marshals Service officially deputize members of Elon Musk's team of private bodyguards. And that may sound like just a bureaucratic designation, but one practical consequence of that is that the Marshals Service may now allow Musk's team of personal bodyguards to carry weapons on federal property. Loaded weapons. CNN reports, quote, "Some people